This programme was funded by the Broadcasting Authority of Ireland with the television licence fee.
Welcome along to another episode of Leading the Field. This week, we hear from two local families synonymous with the sport of horse racing and a local upcoming jockey who's making a name for himself. Our first stop is at the Old Road Stud in Glenagluck near Tallow, which houses well-known stallions such as Clouding's sire of the Grand National winner Manny Clouds and Arctic Cosmos, a former winner of the St. Leger in England. Racing plays a massive part in the lives of James Hannon Sr., Jr. and Ian Hannon. For James Sr., racing has always been an interest.
Yes, it was, both from my mother's side and my father's side. My father trained a few pointers for Joe Keeffe and Talla. They were successful with him, and he was always interested in the points and the racing. So I suppose when I was growing up, he took me to the points and took me to the races. And the interest was always there. And from my mother's side then, the Coughlan's, they were always involved in the half-bred horses and doing a bit of hunting and breeding the half-bred mares and showing a few foals and a few yearlings and selling them. And, so that's where it all began, We started in Carthy stood just at the other side of Tallow. And we started there. We had the first stallion we stood there was a horse called Fred Morris. Then we had Campaigner, Ragapan, Sheergrit, Ballinger, Sidetrack. We started here in the Old Road Stud in 2000, the year 2000, with Witness Box. And we had him for 20 years until last April, 12 months ago. He was a great servant to us for 20 years. He was a great racehorse. We've had a few of them since, and we got Cloudings then, and he's been a marvellous success.
Yeah, he's the sire of Manny Clouds, the Grand National winner of 2015, of course. How much does it mean to you to have the sire of a horse who has won the most famous steeplechase in the world?
Well, every man with a stallion, 'tis his dream that he would have a stallion to breed a Cheltenham Gold Cup winner, or a Champion Hull winner at Cheltenham, or a Grand National winner at Aintree. So we've had, Witness Box had a horse called Take the Stand that was second in the Gold Cup. He was second to Kicking King, Tom Taft's horse. And we said, well, when he didn't win the Gold Cup that time, I suppose we'd never get a chance to have a horse like that again. And then Cloudings came up with Manny Clouds to win the National. So, my God, I couldn't believe the day he won the National, that we had a horse outside in the stable that was after breeding the Grand National winner. It was unbelievable, to be honest with you, unbelievable. It was a day I'll never forget in my life, however long more I live. Please God, I live for a few more years. But it was a day I'll never forget. I was in Newmarket at the sales. Went over to Newmarket a good few years ago, 10 or 11. We have him 11 years now. And I went over to Newmarket to see a colt that I thought might make a stallion. He wasn't what I wanted anyhow, to be honest with you. So I met somebody at the sales and they said to me, would you be interested in a stallion? And I said, yeah, I would. I said, what is he? And they said, Cloudings. He's standing at Shade Oak Stud. They want to get rid of him. They want to get out of him. And we kind of started to roll from there. And I came home and Maureen and my wife and myself chatted it out about him. And we got all the literature about him and what he had bred and the few winners he had bred before we got him. And that's where I got it. That's the first bit of information I got him was at Newmarket at the sales. So he's been a great success for us. He was the leading point sire 2 years ago, and he had 19 individual point winners. I won't say leading, but he had 19 individual point winners. He's been a great success for us, mighty success. We upped his fee for the mares this past year because he had bred a Grand National winner, he had bred the Hennessy Gold Cup winner, and we said we'd put up his fee because there is other stallions that stood in the country and they haven't bred a Hennessy winner or a Gold Cup winner, and they were charging more for him than what we were charging for Cloudings, So we put him up, and it helped him big time to put him up,
And there are other high-profile stallions based here at the Old Road Stud, James.
At the Cosmos, his first foals were born last year in Ireland. They were his first crop. He won the St. Leger for John Gosden. It was a very good St. Leger. He beat Snow Fairy, Joshua Tree, Rewilding. Snow Fairy that he beat, she won 7 Group 1. She was a very good mare. We went to Newmarket to see him, Maureen and myself. But previous to that, it was John Gosden who trained Witness Box also. So we had a connection with John Gosden. And I rang him up one day and I asked him to know would he have to make a stallion, and he said, I have, come over. So Maureen and myself went over and we see at the Cosmos. He was after galloping up Warren Hill that morning when we see him, and we came home then and we went back again to see him. And we sat down with John Gosden and we got him. We ironed out a deal with him. So he's been a great success. The foals last year were well accepted by him. They were good lookers, good walkers. There was one foal made 18,000 by him. There was another foal made 14, 15. They sold well by him. And a lot of talk about him.
Yes.
And we had a great year with him this year. He was very popular this year.
And you've also got Moore's Wells, who stood in Sweden for a year before being moved to the Old Road Stud here.
He's a Sadler's Wells horse. He raced for 7 years. Was a brilliant racehorse. And his first crop of foals are born this year in Ireland. People have said that that's in the mares for the coming year. He won over 450,000 or something in prize money. He raced in England, he raced in Ireland, he raced in England, he raced in France and Canada. He raced in 4 different countries for 7 years. Retired sound, never gave a sign of trouble. Perfectly sound horse, Yes. Great temperament, great walker. Himself and Atty Cosmos, Atty Cosmos is a group winner, Cloudy a group 1 winner, Cloudings is a group 1 winner. He won 4 Group 3s, placed in a Group 1 and a Group 2. They're good stallions, they're good horses. They were good race horses. They were sound race horses. They stood the test of time,
Yes. The horses clearly mean the world to you. How many are located here at the moment?
Oh, God. We'd have 60-odd horses between mares, foals, yearlings, few yearlings, 2-year-olds, a couple of 3-year-olds. Ian, my oldest son, have a couple of eventers. He's into eventing in a big way. Well, he involved in the thoroughbreds too, but he liked the eventing. And we wouldn't have that much anyhow, It's a long day during the covering season when the mares are falling, because, when the mares are falling, you're up by night, you're up early in the morning, you're minding the mares. Our typical day, we'll say February, March, April, where you'll be starting around 6:30, 20 to 7 in the morning. And while they'd be lighting the sky that evening, you'd be still going, You would have visiting mares coming, you'd have a mare to cover later. There might be somebody who said the vet examined her and she was not fit for covering until 7 or 8 o'clock tonight. So you would have the stallions ready, whichever stallion she'd be going to, and you'd cover her. And it's a long day. But I really enjoy it. And I love meeting people. I love when people come in, we can have an old chat and a laugh and things I don't socialise that much, and I don't play any kind of games or golf or anything. The horses are my lifetime. That's it, I would like to say my wife is more involved nearly than what I am. Only for her, I wouldn't be able to continue the business that I have with the stallions, only for Maureen, my wife. She looks after the covering certificates, the EBF fund, advertising, the vets, organising the mares so that to be looked at day by the vets in the during the covering season. She's the backbone of what I have, I'll put it like that. The backbone. I wouldn't be able to continue the business at the moment, and the mares and the stallions and everything. Foals going to the sales, vaccinations, markings of foals, she does all that. I look after the mares, the stallions, and but she does any book work that's to be done. She does it. So I just wouldn't be able to continue without Maureen's involvement the way she is.
James's son, James Jr., is an amateur jockey on the Cork Waterford point-to-point circuit. He has fond memories of growing up in an area steeped in racing tradition.
From a very young age, I've been riding. I used to be left off hunting when I was 4 years of age on my own, and Goldie, my first pony. And so I've been riding horses since I can remember, and still at it. Cork and Waterford has been the home of point-to-pointing always, nearly. There was always so much competition and so many lads around the area willing to ride and wanting to get going. When I started off, David Russell was champion novice jockey kind of maybe the year after I started, and so there's always been a great kind of a background to starting riding point-to-points in this area and progressing onto the professional ranks. I always predominantly ride in Cork and Waterford. I don't ever go up the country much, and it's local, it's handy. Most of the time when you're based around Tella, you can get to a point-to-point in 20 minutes, half an hour, maybe an hour up to Drumahan and Mella. So it's great that way that you can go off of a Sunday, you meet the same people, same local, same crack every Sunday. So it's a great scene that way.
James's brother Ian is also involved in the thoroughbred racing industry. A qualified farrier, he's in high demand in the Cork-Waterford area for the fitting of horseshoes. It's a very skilled and specialist trade.
Day-to-day business is looking after the horses' feet and trying to keep them in as good a condition as possible to help improve foals' feet when they're born after a month, to see to know that they need any corrective work done on them to make sure their limbs grow correctly with help from the hoofs to make sure they're correctly balanced. And there's just, in this area, there's such a big amount of horses that you have to keep, we'll say from racing, hunting, a lot of different aspects. It's a specialist trade, and it's a trade that takes a lot of learning, and you'll be learning all the time. You never stop learning at it.
And what's a typical day for Ian Hannon?
Typical day for Ian Hannon is at home. We start off with the horses, whatever horses to be looked after in the morning, and whatever this time of the year in the summertime now, we try the mares, get the mares sorted out for the day. Then I go away. I'm very lucky around here. We're really immersed in horse tradition around here. I have friends and they're farriers and they have to travel long distances for work. I don't. My country is I travel from the other side, we'll say Old Parish to Tallow and back up as far as Middleton. That's my kind of, down to Ballymacorda. That's my area. I don't have much ground to cover. And there's, like I said, there's race horses, hunters, eventers, show jumpers. There's breeding stock. There's so many people around this area breeding young thoroughbreds and halfbreds, and so there's plenty to do and plenty of diversity. There's always a farrier appointed at all the tracks. They usually have their own farrier. Even the point-to-points, there'll be someone at the point-to-points. There'll be some farrier. Always the local committees will pick up they'll have their own farrier on the day, and they'll have to look after a pull shoe, or maybe if there's a horse that they think might be a bit feely or on a hoof or needs a bit of attention.
What's involved in fitting horseshoes? How exactly do you do it?
It's kind of like picking stones. You're always bent over, that's what you are. It's a hard job in the back. But you have to pick up, I suppose, you have to have a knowledge of horses and try and work with and that's the thing, each individual horse is different, and you have to know how to work with that horse, pick up their leg. First of all, you should have a look at the horse, watch them walking. See how they walk, see how their feet hit the ground, and then you can assess them to know what you need to do, which way you need to balance their hoofs, if they're straight, if they're turning out, if they're turning in, whatever. And then when you have that done, you pick up your hoof, start to work, clean out the horse's sole, make sure there's no stones, no dirt. See how healthy the hoof is. See, is the frog clean, is the sole clean, is there any bruising there? What condition the hoof wall is in, what condition the hoof is in, is it growing well, is it not growing well? When you have all them things taken into consideration, you can start leveling, use your tools, clean out with the knife, your rasp then to level it off, or your nippers to take off any excess hoof wall. When you have it all balanced and trimmed, you can get your shoe, whatever shoe you think will suit, and try and shape your shoe in for your hoof, and you nail it on, and you must tighten your nails. Usually this time of the year, maybe 6 nails, winter time 7 nails, 3 on the inside, 4 on the outside. You finish off your hoof, then your nails, and then you start all over again, and you have to do that 4 times with every horse.
Just a short drive down the road from the Old Road Stud, approaching Youghal, is the home place of jockey Dennis O'Regan. I meet the local rider at the prestigious Cheltenham Festival, which takes place in March every year. It's a racecourse that has provided O'Regan with some of his best days in racing.
I've had a few good years here, Jordan. It's gone tougher, I must admit, the last couple of years. The quality has swayed to kind of other parts, and you have to be kind of lucky and land on a good horse nowadays. But yeah, it is. It's great to be here, even if it's only for one ride today. It's great to be here.
Let's go back to where your interest in horse racing began. I know that your dad was a big influence.
He was. When I was young, my dad used to bring me to two very old men at the time, Michael John Desmond and William Desmond, who lived in Ballinona North outside Dungorney. And I suppose my dad was so sick of me that he used to drop me off on a Saturday morning and pick me up on a Saturday evening, and I used to ride the ponies all day long, and that was started at the age of very young, 5. And he rode in the Dublin Horse Show, and he was a great horseman. And everything I learned starting off the basics, I learned from them men. And then I moved on to John Crowley in Middleton. He was a trainer and great ex-jockey. I got some great experience there. And then when I finished school, I went to Francis Flood up in Wicklow. I shut my bags and away I went very quickly. And I went there as an amateur. And I was very green around the gills, but I learned my trade there, and he gave me some great opportunities, old Francis Flood Senior, and I won some great bumpers for him as an amateur, and that kind of propelled me into people knowing my name. And then I turned conditional when I was 20, and I went to Noel Mead. My own decision to go. I felt I couldn't get any better at Floods, and I was stagnant. And even though I'd had ridden some good bumper winners, I was never going to progress to where I wanted to be. Noel Mead kindly gave me a job when I was 20, and it kind of all started there really then.
Why did you make the decision to move to Britain, Dennis? Was it the fact that there's more racing there, basically?
I think people are misjudging how I came to England. I mean, I had built up a great reputation in Ireland, and I was second in the championship when I left Ireland to go to England, to Ruby Walsh. I wasn't, at that time, I'd already 30 winners on the board before I left for England in September. So from May to September, that was fair going. And I'd achieved a lot, and I was second jockey in all meets. I was very content with my life in Ireland, and I was really hitting the big time. But a big job offer came from England, and at the time I had offers from other trainers, Michael Hourigan included, and I turned them down. And this big job came, and there was a big retainer with it, and there was good horses to ride. And I felt I'd come to the Cheltenham Festival a couple of years on the run up to that year with chances, and they hadn't won, and I didn't feel I was going to get on the scoreboard here. And I thought that with taking that job and riding English Reaver and Tidal Bay, I had a great opportunity of getting on the scoreboard. It happened, and there was a lot of other big winners that came with that job, and high levels of success and lots of winners, and it really opened the door for me into the UK, and the people really knew me straight away. It was a very high profile job, and I did the 3 years, a 3-year contract. I'd done the 3 years. The toughest decision I've ever had to make was when that job finished, where was I going to go next? And I took the chance. I moved to the south of England in 2010 off the back of finishing second in the Grand National, and it's been an uphill struggle since. There's been a lot of winners, including I've had a festival winner since, a lot of big winners like Eider Chases, Grand National Trials, Fighting Fifths. I was third in the Champion Hurl and Countrywide Flame, but I've really found it very hard to get on a quality horse, to be honest.
You must be really proud of what you've achieved in the sport, from riding big race winners for Howard Johnson, having festival wins aboard Tidal Bay and English Reaver, winning the Galway Plate, winning the Galway Hurdle. I
am really proud. I'm not one for sentiment. I'm quite hard on myself. I'm very success driven, but it's definitely been character building too. It's been very hard to maintain that level anyway, to start with, to keep at A level. To get back up into the very high level is something that's going to be very difficult.
And the area you hail from, Dennis, the people there love their racing, and locals involved in the sport have had an incredible amount of success.
From Davy Russell to Davy Condon, Johnny Burke, Liam Canary, Barry Canary, there's just so many of them, even trainers and horse breeders. It's just whatever it is with that corner of the earth, there seems to be something to do with horses. I think it's because we were brought up with nothing, only horses. I feel proud, to be from where I'm from, really, and it's great for my parents, back home when we achieve stuff, and they kind of couldn't believe it, really. They're sick of looking at me now. Anyway, it's all about Dermot. So, but hopefully I'll make my way back again and give them something to think about and cheer about in the next couple of years. Anyway.
In 2016, Dennis was appointed the retained jockey to leading owner Barry Connell. The move will see him return home and link up with high quality horses from next season. Dermot O'Regan is the younger brother of Dennis. He has been making giant strides as a conditional rider in England. I spoke to Dermot as he was about to return from injury.
Well, you don't think about it really, you just kind of go out, you do it and you come back in, and if you don't come back in, well, that's it. You try not to think about it, you don't think about it really. Normally the horses, you might have ridden them before, you might not have, but you do your homework. There's internet and that is so good nowadays. You can watch all replays, see what horses are like, how they jump, how they travel, what way they like to be ridden, and you go on your trainer and how other jockeys have ridden them, and you speak to other jockeys about them, and then you just go out and try and ride a race. And if you're lucky enough to win, great. If you get around, brilliant. And if they fall, you try and get back up, and if you don't, well, hopefully you'll be okay afterwards. I did a lot of hurling and football in school, and I always thought, I'll be a hurler. I maybe wasn't good enough to be hurling, so I was always able to ride, but school and different things took over, and then I kind of got back into it then when I was 16, and when I was 17, then I went down to James Motherway down in Clyne, and he was a super asset to me when I went down there, and I still speak to him from there. I went to race, and he encouraged me to go to race, and I tried to improve again. When you go to the racing academy, they put you on placement for 6 months, and I was with Dermot Weld, which I was very grateful for, and learned plenty there. But I was always probably going to be a jump jockey, and I just felt that, I know he has some nice bumper horses and that, but I just thought maybe I'd go somewhere else, and I went to James Nash's for a little bit, but at the time he was probably too small. He had 15, 20 horses, but then I moved on to Jim Bulger's for a year just to get out of Kildare and just do something different, just instead of just going, maybe I wasn't good enough, maybe I wasn't ready, but I just went down to Jim Bulger's just for an experience, because all the top lads have been there, McCoy, Carberry, just to name a few.
Like your brother, you too made the decision to move across the water.
When I moved to England, I suppose the boom times here crashed, and there was a lot of stables struggling, and they wanted top riders, and so I was going to struggle to get an opportunity here. So Dennis had been riding for Paul Webber, and he'd been down south, so he said, look, come over, there's a job there if you want it. And I joined Paul Webber's team for a season, and it was good, and I was grateful for the opportunity, but I got my license, my conditional license out there, and just the opportunities were far and few between, so I left and went to Charlie Longston's, and he was an upcoming trainer at the time, had plenty of horses, but he got Noel Feely as a stable jockey, and he was just maybe didn't have enough experience for him, so I kind of I didn't know what to do then. I was in two minds what to do, and he kind of said that I mightn't make it, so I said, right, I'll give it one more kick if I go to Chris Granson, and to be fair, he got us going. You either love it or hate it. You'll know within a week. You'll love it or hate it. If you hate it, you're going to struggle. If you love it and you settle down, you're grand. And it's all about making friends and trying to get in with people and trying to ground yourself into where you are, and try and get your head down and work and graft and settle.
Dermot, you had a couple of nice winners in the 2015-16 season. What stands out for yourself?
William Money last year on Channel 4 was probably a good start, and then this year, unfortunately Dale Irvine got injured, James Hewitt's conditional, and I just fell in to get the ride on Aristo de Placey, and he won on New Year's Day on Channel 4, and I rode a double that day as well, the other one for Chris and Sue Grant, so I was very lucky, but also it was great to get them.
And I'd imagine Dennis, being a great jockey and being your older brother, has been very supportive and offers great advice.
we'd probably speak, if not every night, every second night after racing, whether he's riding or I'm riding. And he puts me in my place when I've done something wrong, and he knows I've done it wrong because he's been in the game so long. But he's been a massive help to me. I couldn't thank him enough, and he worked so hard for it. So I suppose it was drilled into me to work very hard for it. So that was a massive thing. I remember watching him on Tidal Bay winning the Arkle. I was down in the bookies watching it. I was probably supposed to be in study, but it's Cheltenham week. It only happens once a year. But yeah, it was massive. I'll never forget it. Maybe people didn't realise I was his brother, but it was still inside, you knew, and the family knew, and it was unbelievable.
Dermot has his sights firmly set on securing many more winners. While National Hunt racing clearly dominates the area of East Cork and West Waterford, one local jockey is plying his trade on the flat. Cillian Hennessy is a promising young rider from the Youghal area who looks set for a bright future in the sport.
Well, I was always interested in horses from a young age. Racing wise, Ian Hannon actually, farrier there up towards Tallow, got me going on point-to-pointers. And that's when the kind of love started. And then transition year, I did a week with John Kiley down Dungarvan. And the following summer then I went to Jim Bulger's for the summer and never looked back. I spent 4 years there. Mr. Bulger's a tough master, but he puts you in the right path, and I definitely don't think I would be where I am today without him. He's probably one of the smartest men I've ever met. He's so sharp and quick. Being with Jim Bulger made me much tougher and sharper, I think. While I was there, I rode Dawn Approach, Trade and Leather, Parish Hall. A lot of lovely horses now. The first winner was obviously a big deal, and things kind of got rolling from then. Obviously, I didn't get too many rides while in Ireland, but whenever you're riding one for Jim Bulger, it always has a chance.
So is it difficult for young apprentice jockeys to get opportunities in Ireland? In
Ireland, it seems to be getting harder and harder. Especially, you see, these times, and you see a lot of smaller trainers that would have given likes me a chance have kind of started to disappear, and it's just big stables using their own jockeys, so it is getting very hard, and you see a lot of lads moving to England and abroad, and that's why I made the move to the States. I was actually born in America. My mother's American. I had dual citizenship, so it was never going to be a problem. Where all the other lads went to England, I said I might as well take advantage of it and head to the States. Once my apprenticeship was done, I didn't see the need to stay in Ireland anymore, so I'd been in contact with Brendan Walsh, who's doing very well as a trainer out there, and he got me hooked up out there, and I've been doing well since.
What is racing like in the US? Is it as popular as basketball, baseball and soccer, for instance?
Racing in America is huge, You'd see much bigger crowds at the races than you would here in Ireland. I'm actually living in Louisville, Kentucky at the moment, which is Hummer racing, and it's huge over there, and it's very different. They race very differently, but draws huge crowds, and prize money is even bigger.
And you've been in the winners' enclosure in the States now as well.
Yeah, I got my first winner in Ellis Park in August of 2015 for a local trainer named Jack Hancock. He's always been putting me on plenty of horses, and since then things started to get going, and getting plenty of rides. Actually, I missed out on the ride there in September in a $300,000 stakes race, but it's just the quality of horses and rides I'm getting has increased.
In the spring of 2016, Cillian made the decision to move to the UK. He looks a very talented jockey, and no doubt we'll be hearing plenty more about him in the years to come. Leading the Field was funded by the Broadcasting Authority of Ireland with a television licence fee. It was produced and presented by Jordan McCarthy, edited by Tom Maher, and the sound engineer was Thomas O'Keeffe. A Community Radio Youghal production.